I want you, the listener. Yes, I want you, the listener, to press the like button, the subscribe button, but more importantly, comments. Comments that you liked or disliked the topic discussed. What would you like discussed? Because you, the listener, are who is important to me so that I can provide the value that you want and need.
Joel?
Yes, Ray.
I understand that's your problem.
No. It's your
No, it's not my problem. It's your problem.
It's your problem.
I get on the seesaw with you. It's my problem now. This stems from a customer
on my consulting side
who showed up with, I would say, a stinky issue.
Oh, a little beyond stinky.
Do tell.
It had floaters. Sometimes it has to do with the interpretation of the task and frequencies of a contract. Most of us, when we look at a request for proposal or a proposal that's been written, we don't always ask the right questions. And in this case, the interpretation is probably going to have to go to legal, because a statement that's in the contract is in anything else that we ask you to do.
That's an ugly catch-all.
It is an ugly catch-all. And that's where this particular person has gotten themselves into a water issue.
Okay, time out. They must have signed this without bringing the contract to you, because there's no way in God's green earth that you would have let them sign a contract with that kind of a clause in it.
That is correct. They did not come to me. They felt that they could handle this on their own. And even not me, an attorney, would catch that phrase in the contract is, this needs to be defined. There's certain things in the cleaning world, and we've done several blurred line issues where there's crossover. You would think it's the cleaning company's job to do something, but when you get into things that require different types of insurances and different types of certifications that are required, that can't be in that catch-all phrase. And that's where this falls.
Let's get us back on track with the topic. The customer comes to your customer and says,
this is your problem. My customer then goes, what do you mean? And they reference this phrase. Toilets had backed up and flooded the entire basement level of this facility. Yeah. And there was several inches of water as well as raw sewage. So there was all kinds of other stuff, including toilet paper and urine and feces, all floating around in the basement. They go, I'm not trained to do that. And their customer kept hitting the contract saying, it's right here. It's your responsibility at no cost increase.
Oh, of course.
This is where they panicked in the moment. They didn't know what to do. They like, I guess I'm supposed to do it. They didn't know what to do. So they were using their equipment to clean this all up, wet vac and mop bucket. They called me after the fact. And I was like, please tell me you didn't clean this up.
And of course.
And they go, well, what was I supposed to do? I said, you were supposed to tell your client that they needed to call a disaster restoration company. That's hazardous waste. That is stuff that has to be handled with people that are trained properly, have the right equipment, have the right PPEs, personal protective equipment, as well as hold the right licenses, particularly when you're dealing with water backing up into a building. Now you're also talking about potential mold issues. And because they were the ones who cleaned up the mess, so now if there's mold in this building or mildew, they are potentially at risk.
Okay. So your customer, the cleaning company owner, has discovered that they had a misstep.
Correct.
What did you instruct them to do after the fact?
I told them they needed to talk to their attorney, that they needed to look at the contract and have that clause redefined, and particularly with the steps that they had already taken, make sure that this won't happen again to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. This is not something that just because you're a cleaning company, you can do it. Sure, anybody, I guess, in theory can do it. But if you're going to do it and do it right, you have to have the proper training, the proper equipment, and the proper licensing.
But most janitorial services companies aren't going to have those.
And they panic saying, well, if I don't do this, they're going to find another company and I'm going to be replaced and I'm not going to have this job that's supporting me.
Sure.
So I understand where the fear came in. And it goes to some of the greatest sales coaches, is the first one who speaks loses. And in this case, they were the ones that spoke and said, yep, I'll do it. I guess I have to because it's in the contract. And it's those vague clauses that get people into trouble. Even when you go in with the best of intentions on both sides, there's always something that is going to rub each other the wrong way down the road. Better to work it out on the front end and clearly define the scope of work.
Let's hit a couple of bullet points before we talk about why you need to call Joel. Let's do the end use customer first. If I assume good intent for them, other than just being a pushy SOB, there's poop on the floor. If it was at my home, I would get the poop off the floor. Therefore, you're the cleaning company. You need to get the poop off the floor. That assumes incorrectly that your poop is your poop. This could be anybody with anything. There are viruses that survive the intestinal tract. That's one of the reasons that this is a hazardous situation.
Yeah, because COVID, we found out, survived the intestinal tract.
Right. The exposure of damage to the facility, understanding that your janitorial company's survival may be at risk if some kind of mold or other damage, just simple water damage occurs that could end up being your company.
And most janitorial insurance won't cover that type of risk because it's a whole different type of insurance. So you are going to be on the hook financially if something goes wrong yourself.
Last and probably least, for the materials that a janitorial services company walks in with, not expecting this kind of a thing, are any of the materials that they are going to finish with that night reusable at this point? Because they have now been exposed to, I don't know what.
That is a very good question. And when it comes to the softer materials, no, they cannot be used
So
again.
not only are they spending that much additional time, they are literally torching potentially all of the materials that they came in with.
Correct. With the mop buckets and things, they're made out of plastic. Plastic is porous. So you might have to have it tested to find out if it can be reused.
So there are huge losses all the way around without having this clause defined and the customer saying it's your problem.
Correct.
Listener, if you heard this and dollar signs were racking up, that's because you were paying attention. That is when you need to contact Joel. Contact Joel before you sign the contract. Contact Joel if you have gone through this situation. And if I need to say it again, contact Joel. Joel, thank you.
You're welcome.